Life with Liliana and Friends.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Life with Liliana and Friends. And man, we have been having some great conversations with some of my friends and family. And we're still talking around the subject greener pastures, where we've been exploring stories of Fijians who are living overseas or traveled overseas and working overseas, and really just understanding their stories. Are there really greener pastures out there? What is it like? What have they had to adjust to? And not only have we heard stories, but we've also been able to pick up so many great gems and practical tips and advice and encouragement for all of us. Now, this is a great time to be talking to some of these guests because we're still at the beginning of the year. And so today I thought I would bring on my niece, because as we were talking to people, she doesn't live overseas, but she's traveled quite a bit for a young adult, I would say. And I wanted to bring her onto the show to just get her perspective of her travels, but also to talk a bit about maybe some tips or some encouragement for those in her age group. So Lina, welcome back to Life with Liliana and Friends.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming again.
Thank you for having me again.
Man, such a treat having you. I'm so fortunate to have such beautiful guests on the show.
Thank you. I mean, my favorite auntie, how can I say no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? That's a favorite auntie, favorite child, favorite daughter, favorite auntie, favorite friend, everything. So, Lina, I wish we had all day to chat, because I just love everything about you, you know. And yes, we are auntie and niece, but as you know, we spend a lot of time together talking about life and solving the problems of the world and getting excited and everything all at once. But I'd like you to just introduce yourself very briefly to the guests, please. Your background, where you brought up, maybe your family.
Sure. Bulawanak, everyone. My name is Lina Volau. I am from Levukana in the beautiful island of Vanabalavu, Vasu Onoilau. I grew up very family oriented, and you know, the typical Fijian one house. My dad has 4 siblings. We all grew up with all my first cousins, so very, you know, share the living room, share the mattress, all of the above. But I lived in Australia for around 3 years. I was a minor. I was still a baby back then. But I did do kindergarten and class 1 in Australia. And then we moved back to Fiji, so I've been living in Fiji all my life. I'm the youngest of 2, so I have an older sister. And my dad, he's currently retired and just living his best life at the moment. And my mom, she's currently a high school teacher.
Right. So where did you go to school?
I went to school in St. Joseph's High School. I took a year break after I completed Form 7, and then I went to USP and completed my degree, double major in accounting and international business and marketing.
I forgot you took a year off.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good. But before we go into what you were doing in that year off, where are you working now? So you've graduated recently, and so have you found a job? And
Yes.
So I completed my degree in 2022, wow, 2021, so 2019, and I started working for KPMG in 2020.
The beginning of 2020.
And you're loving it.
And I love it.
And you're doing so well, may I just say.
Thank you.
Yeah, and 25, you're old now, eh?
I know.
Yeah, 25,
But
that's
still young at heart.
almost 30.
16 and a half.
So tell us what you did on your year off.
So that's a funny story, because it was not supposed to be a year off. It was only supposed to be a semester off. For around 5 months, I spent time in America. I was in America for 5 months with my first cousins, only because I was supposed to go right after high school for the school break, but I ended up getting an internship with PwC. So that was a good opportunity to take, so I ended up taking that opportunity. And so my dad asked me, so what about going to America? And I said, okay, maybe I can take a semester off. So I took a semester off, and I just babysat my nieces and, you know, just was around America for 5 months, because I have a lot of family in America, so I was just visiting family back then.
Yes. Man, interesting, eh? One of the things I love about you is that you just go with the flow.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's good to do that while you can,
Yes.
before you get married and have
Yes.
children and everything changes.
Yes.
So that's great. Now, I just want to ask, there's one one of your trips, you told me about going to a Tony Robbins seminar. Can you just help us understand, like maybe first of all explain who Tony Robbins is for those who don't know, and how that all came about, and maybe what impact that had on you?
Right. So it was the Global Youth Leadership Summit, which was held in San Diego.
Right.
Tony Robbins, from my understanding, I know he does a lot. Like he's an owner of Namale Resort in Savu.
Yes.
But I know him as a motivational speaker. And so he does these summits for youths, and because he owns Namale, there's few scholarships offered to the Fijian people, the Itoke, or Fijian basically. So my grandmother, she works at Namale, and so she told me about this opportunity. Wow. So you have to apply for it, write an essay, and then you have interviews. So it's a whole process going through it. And I ended up getting the scholarship, and so I got a free trip.
What year was this?
I was in Form 6, so that's 2014. Yes, 2014.
Wow.
Yes, so I got a free trip to America, but that was for the summit. And basically, it's youths from all around the world. So we go into camp, and then there's a whole schedule in place, motivational speakers from all around the world that came. So this experience really got me out of my comfort zone because I was such an introvert. Like I was just the stay home, go to school, meet with the same friends I have for the whole school year, and then just back home, and just, it was just the way I liked my own company. So I was such an introvert. Going to this summit, it really just broadened my perspective of the different cultures, life, and I think at the same time, because Fiji is such a small place, that I was always so cautious of what I did because I felt judged. And this one was this person, this one was this person. So I was just so cautious about that because somehow, coconut violence will just end up to mom and dad or my siblings or whatnot, my sibling or my cousins. And so just going out there and just being free, because I did not know anybody there, and there was just no connection. People that I met, I probably would never meet again. So it just really just broadened my perspective of life and just got me to get out of my comfort.
Wow. Can you remember, what was your favorite? Do you have a favorite speaker or someone in particular that made an impact on you?
To be honest, not really. I think it was so much of the experience, because I was in Form 6.
Right.
If I went now, I definitely would have been just like taking notes and remembering speakers, but it was just the experience that really impacted me and what stuck with me.
Yes. Maybe you can write another essay and ask him, can you send me again? Because now I'm in a different season and I feel like
But unfortunately, it's only for 16 to 18 years old, so...
Man, it would be great if they had something like that for adults, eh? Or young adults.
Yeah,
they must do. What Monday did you write in that essay to get you into that program?
I really do not know, but I praise God that I got through.
Yes. So since then, what has your traveling been like? Have you been do you go to the same countries, or how often do you travel?
So right after that, that's 2016. So from 2017, I started going to Australia every year because I would go for the Hillsong conference.
Right.
And because I got a 3-year visa, so I was like, okay, you know what, I have to. And my dad is very supportive, so he's like, you got a 3-year visa, you better make use of it. So I would often travel to Australia for that. And I have a lot of family there, which is, just really helpful. So I would just go in there to look after me.
Yes. So Australia. What other countries? You going back to America again?
Yes, I did go back to America for that 5 months, and that was my last trip to America. So basically just America and Australia.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and that's on leisure for leisure.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to come back and talk a bit more about some of the lessons and some of the value that you find in these travels, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. I'll see you soon.
Life with Liliana and Friends. Life with Liliana and Friends.
Welcome back to Life with Liliana and Friends. I'm here with my niece, Lina Volau, and we've been talking about her experiences as a young adult, traveling, living for a little bit overseas, but primarily working and living in Fiji. So, Lina, I wanted to ask you, in your first travels, your first experiences to Australia and America, what are some things that surprised you when you went into these different cultures, if you like?
This is one experience that I remembered, that I remember actually, when I went for the Tony Robbins, the Leadership Summit. And we had to do a flash mob kind of thing. It was part of the activity. So we had to video this flash mob. And in Fiji, if that flash mob happened, everyone would just be so into it. They'll just allow it to happen. Yes. Whereas when we did that in America, and there was some people were intrigued by it, but there were others that were like, oh my goodness, these people are in my space.
Wow.
Yes, and I remember this one a student, because we were at a university campus. She was eating and we were doing it, and she just stood up. I remember looking at her. She looked at me and she just stood up and she just walked away like, you're in my space. And I was so shocked, because in Fiji we're just very bula and like.
Well, that's because you had one mattress, one bathroom, and everything. That's why there's no space.
And then so I think that one experience really taught me that people are very different.
Right.
People are different, and so that experience just for me really got me to unlearn that I have to just adapt. I have to observe. I have to see the different cultures and learn the different cultures to be able to respect it. Right. Not only respect it, but respect them as an individual. Yes. And so I think that for me would have been one turning point of.
Oh, that's such a mature lesson for you to take away. I mean, you were only in Form 6, but that's so true, isn't it? Because you're right, we come with there is no personal space sometimes, and it comes to us. We go and then we hug and we kiss people, and we're just like in their faces. Exactly. Did you find it different from Australia when you went?
Yes, Australia there's more of the Fijian way we do life. Right. There, but there also are some individualists that are there. But because I was around a lot of family, and because the people that I interacted with were also, because when I went to Australia as well, I went for the conference, and because when we go for conference, it's a faith journey, and because we all had that thing in common, it was easy to navigate with people. Right. Whereas for just meeting people in public, it was not. I didn't really interact with people in public. Yes. Yeah, but in America, that one experience was just like, oh, okay, let me just take a step back.
And because you said you're naturally introverted, so you will be drawn to just people that you know and all of that. So I think that's a really great lesson, because that's important for us to seek out opportunities for us to be able to do that when we know that we are introverted, because we learn so much. Right. I mean, you learned that very important lesson from your flash mob, tiny lesson which you remember still today. I mean, that was all those years ago. But I also love that you spoke about how it's almost the word liberated comes to mind. Like you just felt so free. Yes. Because it's amazing, but we don't realize the pressures that society puts on us and the expectations, especially when we're in this small community, that we carried with us. And so it's not until we go somewhere when you realize, oh, nobody knows me here. Yeah. I can do anything and wear anything and say anything. Exactly. And then I think that also gives us an opportunity to just really understand who we are and what we like and what we don't like. Yeah? So I guess that's one of the advantages of being overseas and living overseas. So can you see yourself living overseas and working there and making a life for yourself overseas?
Honestly, this was something that I was taught, and just parents, mentors, not so much mentors, but I think a lot of the society, I would say, it's normal to go to school, get your degree, work, go overseas and find a better job. Yes. And so for me, that had always stuck. And so it was my goal to, find a way to go overseas and live there. And just last year, when I had my performance review, one of the directors, she told me, you have to know what you want and you have to say it. And just like how you said, when you go overseas, you find out who you are freely, And so for me, that was very confronting, because I asked myself, do I really want to go overseas? Yes. Was that something that I really wanted to do? And so that was very a confronting moment, and I think it lasted for a month. And I don't know if you remember when I came and I asked you, because I needed advice because I was so lost. Like, I really did not know if I wanted to go overseas. And so now I would like to go overseas and live overseas at one point, but only to learn, because I do know and I believe that the people overseas, because they have, the way the government is structured and the opportunity is there, especially in Australia. They're very supportive, very stable in Australia. So I would like to go and just change, not really change, but transform my mindset from compared to how I was, like how I would think in Fiji. Because I would say in Fiji, the way I learn is you just do what you're told. You just do what you're told. Don't really question. Question is disrespectful. And I do understand that in a Fijian, the Fijian mentality. But for me, questioning is just to understand, not so much to, say what you're saying is wrong. I just really want to understand why you're telling me to do this. And so I had learned that from going overseas and seeing the way young people operate, I guess. They would always question things, and when the way they think about a little opportunity, I guess I would see it as a problem, they would see it as an opportunity. Here's, let's get a solution for this. And so I want to go overseas and work and get that culture, I guess, or that mentality, change it, and then hopefully bring it back to Fiji. So
Wonderful. That is so interesting. And we've often talked about having the right people around us. I don't know whether you saw Trina and Navon, and they talk about choosing your tribe and just being around people who vibrate at the same frequency. And I think in different stages of our life or different seasons, we have opportunities to do that in different settings. And so it's really interesting for me to hear at your age that you're thinking like that. I can tell you now, I was nowhere near that level of thinking when I was 25 years old. I was trying to raise my beautiful daughter. We're going to take another quick break, but we're going to come back and talk more about some of the lessons. But so far, you've given us so much to think about already. My mind is already thinking, and I'm like, if I'm going to ask you another question now, we're going to go way over time, and director's going to throw something from the corner. So viewers, we will be back very shortly for the last part of this episode with Life Liliana and Friends.
Life with Liliana and Friends. Life with Liliana and Friends.
Welcome back to Life with Liliana and Friends. We're having a great conversation with my niece Lina at the moment. So Lina, just before the break, you spoke about wanting to be able to travel or be overseas to just help transform your mindset and then come back to Fiji. And I found that really interesting. I wanted to ask, why not just stay there then? Because you'll be surrounded by this, culture and these people. Why come back to Fiji?
My answer would be surrounding my faith journey. It has a lot to do with my faith because, as a Christian and as a believer, I believe God is intentional and He's a detailed God. So because I'm Fijian, because I was brought up in this country, I have found so much appreciation for Fiji. And there's so much potential. I've seen so much potential in Fiji, and I want to bring it back to my people. Because for me, it's all about that, me valuing where I'm from and the people and the culture. And because I'm family oriented, and also I appreciate the way I was brought up in the Fijian culture. So I just really want to bring something back.
I love that. And all of our guests so far are saying the same things. We're doing this because we want to give back. We want to come back because we want to give back to our country. That's so amazing. So I'd really appreciate if you talked a little bit about your faith journey. And I know from all our conversations that you're very intentional with what you do, with where you spend your time. And I believe that's gone a long way into making you probably the most amazing 25-year-old that I've ever met. So would you mind just sharing with us some of the things that you do to kind of, say, plan out your year, your day? What does your life look like?
For the year-wise, I do this thing where I get a word for the year. And that's a lot to do with my faith again. I usually just seek and ask God, what's my word for the year? And this is in the beginning of the year. So January, first week January, I'm praying. I'm fasting. I'm saying, okay, God, what's my word for the year?
Hey God.
Hey God, what is it? Tell me. And so this started in 2 years ago. So my first word would be discipline. And for discipline, for example, I signed up for the gym. It was a full-on 3-month membership. I had no choice. And there's 2 sessions. If you miss your session, your money's gone. And it's for me, that was building discipline. It was more so to build discipline. So I signed up for the gym, and that's how I got through the year. And then after I picked up that habit, it just fell into different areas of my life. And so, and then this year was self-control. But for this year, I did things a bit different. And I started seeking my word in December, or the end of November. Right. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a jump start, get the word for this year. And so I got my word for this year. So that's how I usually start off. So how can I improve with the word that was given to me? Yes. How can I grow with this? So that discipline, that's just one example. I signed up for the gym. So this year, since I got my word in December, I started journaling and saying, how can I improve? How can I grow with this one word that God has given me?
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I usually start off my year.
So, you know, at your age, there must be a lot of distractions. Like, what did you have to cut out things, or did you have to make any hard decisions to make sure that you stayed on track?
Yes, definitely. For me, it's a lot. I've been valuing and seeing how important setting boundaries is. Right. So that for me, it's when you say cutting it off, for me, it's setting boundaries. And this is setting boundaries for myself. So last year, because my word was willpower, I had to cut off Netflix, because my spare time that would just pop up and say, oh, I have Netflix on my phone. I had to, get off social media for a while and started reading books, because reading books was not my thing. Now I love reading books. I love it. And so, yeah, just setting boundaries, cutting things off, things that you know that will take your attention and your focus. Yes. But self-reflection is so important, because I could only identify these things if I really took time out to say, what is wrong? Why am I not doing it? Right. And then I would identify it in case, okay, how can I, grow from this? How can I set a boundary for myself so that I can stay focused? So that's one. And then I think another thing is definitely people. Okay. The people that you surround yourself with. For me, I've been so blessed from even when I was not intentional, it was the people that was around me that kind of never helped me make right decisions. Yes. And you know me, I'm always with the oldies. Yes. So just getting their wisdom and getting their advice, and just most of the times I'm just sitting there and just listening to the conversation, and I'm like, wow, okay. And that kind of helps me stretch my perspective and also get out of my comfort zone. And so, yeah, definitely the people that you surround yourself with.
Yes, that's so good. And, before we end our little chat, I'm just wondering whether you could give us a picture of what your day might look like. And I'm asking this just because there may be people out there listening thinking, you know what, I want to be intentional. I want to do something different this year. What might your day look like? Do you fit in time for reading and self-reflection, or can you just walk us through what a normal day, your day might look like?
Yes, a lot of self-reflecting. And I noticed that sometimes when I don't like self-reflecting, it's because I don't like the answer. Right. I don't like the answer for a certain question. Mm-hmm. And so there's this speaker that said, you're only as strong as you are honest. So I do take time out. For me, that's vital. It's just really self-reflecting and being honest with myself. Like, if this, and especially with things that I feel, sometimes it's not the right way to feel, but it is what it is. This is how I feel. Right. And so just confronting that, okay, this is how I feel. That's okay. How can we move forward from this? Yes. So definitely my day has a lot to do with self-reflecting. Yes. And morning, yes. It's like an every moment kind of thing, especially like, for example, I've been teaching myself to, in the busyness and the chaoticness, just to calm my mind and just use that self-reflecting. So it's pretty much like trying to do it every moment. Okay. So when I catch myself really just doing things out of autopilot, I'm just like, stop, and just take a step back and then just go again. So it's definitely an every moment kind of thing. But I think I had to teach myself to do it. It's not, so it did start from evenings. I was an evening person. So I would do a lot of self-reflecting in the evening, but now with where I'm at, it's just in every moment.
Okay. So what would you advise someone who wants to start on this journey? Is that probably the best thing you'd say? Like start with when it makes, when it's comfortable for you?
What works for you, because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So you have to really figure out what works for you, and just start small. For me, it's just starting small. Just taking the time out. Even if you don't know which time works well for you, just do it. Just pick a time and be like, I'll just do it then. And then you'll just figure it out as you go.
Yeah, that's great. Self-reflection. Do you have any book recommendations for anyone?
It's a Christian book, but it's called I Am Accountable. It's by Sam Sylvanson. I'm sorry, I really can't get it together, but it talks about being accountable, and I think that's very important. And it just changes your mind, to how accountability is inspired, not really demanded. Excuse me. So yeah.
I like this. You know, you've shared so many great things with us, and we've come to the end of our time already. I can see the signs telling me that it's time to stop talking. But I really like, what stood out for me is just you talking about mindset and the transformation of our thinking. And a lot of the stuff, the self-reflection and the reading, all really points towards that. And I think regardless of whether we are in Fiji or out of Fiji, whether we've settled and whether we think there are greener pastures there, that's one of the key things, right? Because that helps us also find ourselves, understand ourselves well, own who we are, make the right decisions, and, you know, really live out the person that God's created us to be. Yes, I guess that's the whole point, and to carry out His will. Anyway, Lina, thank you so much for joining us again. You are an inspiration to so many people. I've said this before, you inspire me all the time. I'm so encouraged by your journey, and I know that you're going to go on and inspire so many other people, and you've got a huge calling on your life, and I'm so excited to be a part of this journey with you. So thank you for joining us. And thank you, viewers, for joining me and my niece with this little chat. I hope you found this useful. We will be back next week at 8 p.m. exclusively on my TV. I will see you then.
Life with Liliana and Friends.